In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to interpret and read the TAPR, or the Texas Academic Performance Report. As a reminder, the elementary, middle, and high school reports look a little bit differently based on the requirements of what they're supposed to report out. But everybody will have the same general information on the front, whether or not they met the standard or did not meet the standard. So that's one of the most important things that you'll find. And as you scroll through, you'll notice that there are some different pieces of information that are reported. Now, it used to be that they reported out the comparison between 2 years. So you would have 2014 data and 2013 data to be able to compare those test scores. In these new 2014-2015 campus reports, we're not seeing that comparison of data between 2014 and 2015, which is, kind of a disappointment, because we want to see, are our students growing as far as 2014, let's say, 4th grade reading, and 2015 5th grade reading, to see if those students have improved in scores over time. That's also an important factor in when we look at and interpret these scores. So with the elementary school data, you'll notice that 3rd grade takes reading only, 4th grade reading and writing, and 5th grade reading and science. So you'll see those reported out separately. You'll also notice that they reported out all subject areas. Now, the STAR, they did take the math test in 4th grade and in 3rd grade as well, but they didn't report out that data for the 2014-2015 school year. You'll notice that they have phase in next to this satisfactory report. That's because they're slowly phasing in the reporting of these scores and phasing in what the minimum criteria are for meeting those scores for the test. So that's why we're not seeing all information here. So it doesn't appear that they counted the math test for the 2014-2015 school year. So we're looking at a couple of different things here. One, it's required by the federal government that you report out the achievement test based on race and other types of indicators like special education, economically disadvantaged, and ELLs. So these categories are dictated by the No Child Left Behind, or ESEA, federal legislation. So if they have an asterisk here, that means that there's not enough of those students within that race set, or within, economically disadvantaged, or ELL, to merit a subgroup. So they do set, you have to have X amount of students within that group to qualify reporting that data out as a piece of data that either works for or against you, or in your total reporting out of those percentages. So for this particular school, there's not enough African Americans, American Indians, Pacific Islanders, economically disadvantaged, and ELLs to actually report on that data. That number for Texas is set at 20, so you would have to have at least 20 students in that population to report out their achievement scores. So you'll also notice that you have state, district, and campus. So they'll always report those 3 things in addition to the subcategories of race and other special populations. And so how you interpret that is, for this particular campus, 93% of the 3rd grade students passed or met the standard for the reading STAR test. And if you go down, you'll notice that the majority of the students were in the 90th percentile for the test, except for science at 88% in 5th grade. You'll notice as you also scroll over that African Americans did have a sub-pop somewhere, so we don't see it in the others, but maybe totally combined for all tests, they met that subgroup population. And so only 67% of African Americans were meeting the standard for all subjects for all tests. If you look over here, you'll notice that special education, they actually have a more difficult time in this particular school meeting the standards for STAR. And part of that is because STAR has made so many changes and differences as far as who they're allowing to take modified tests and who they aren't allowing to take modified tests. So again, this percentage is going to indicate what percentage of student is meeting that standard. Even at the elementary level, they are rating schools on post-secondary readiness. There's lots of different indicators that go into that particular standard, TSI scores, how many dual credit, lots of different indicators in that. Why they're looking at that as far as an elementary school is beyond me. So scrolling down a little bit further, what you're going to find as well, again, so the post-secondary readiness score, the advanced standard score, and again, all of those are defined through TEA, and you can find those definitions there. So scrolling down, it will always give you your attendance rate, which is important to note because, again, that's specifically and directly related to funding. So you can see which populations might be dipping or having a harder time in attendance and specifically target those groups. So in this particular case, special education and economically disadvantaged have the lowest attendance rate percentages, so you might want to target those populations. If we scroll further, we see students by grade, so it'll tell you how many students by campus, district, and state, and what percentages we have as far as grade level goes. We also see the ethnic distribution. So we notice that statewide we have 12% African American, 52% Hispanic, and 28% white. And you can see how that compares with the district and with the specific campus level. It will also tell you by these other indicators. So we have 58.8% economically disadvantaged over the state of Texas, 41% non-educationally disadvantaged, which means the opposite of the economically disadvantaged, 18% ELL, 51% at risk, and 16.9% mobility. And again, you can tell campus to district how those numbers compare. It'll also tell you retention rates, how many students are held back, class size information, so the average number of students per grade level, per class. And then I'll also talk to you about the teaching staff. So what percentages of the teaching staff are teachers or campus administration or professional support, what that ethnic makeup and what the gender makeup looks like. So again, you look at the state of Texas, 76% female to 23% male. And the highest level of degrees that people hold within those fields, and then years of experience. And so one of those things that's important to note is how many years of experience the average teacher has. The more years of experience is what we want to see, because we know that teacher quality definitely has an impact on student achievement. And then if you scroll further down, you can also note the salary and then students by program. So are they bilingual, ESL, career and technology, gifted and talented, or special education? And again, how those figures play out campus, district to state.